Call to order the June 24, 2026 meeting of the Brainerd HRA Board of Commissioners. Roll call has gone around, and so we're now at item 3. We're looking for approval of the board meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
There is a second.
Second, Kristula.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We have an agenda. New at this meeting, we have an open forum. This is time allotted for citizens and tenants to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the Brainerd HRA Board. If you are if you're speaking, we ask you to come to the podium and state your full name and address. We're going to restrict time to 3 minutes. And for board members, this is an opportunity for us to take input. There's really not an opportunity to discuss or react or respond. We're just here to be informed about the issues that are brought before us. So with that, I open the open forum at 1:01. And is there anyone here to speak to address the board? Anyone here to speak to? And Max, anyone online? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 1:01 and move on to approval of the minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on May 27th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Grasula move, second by Chesick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. And we're moving on now to item 6 on our agenda. That's unfinished business review of our strategic goals. Mr. Charpentier, would you please guide us on that one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That board memo is on page 9 of your packet, is up on the screens as well. Just as we have done, as we have done quarterly, we have updated the status of our goals that we've been working on in the second quarter of the year. As we try to look at this every 3 months, it's always helpful for staff to get feedback and guidance from the board to ensure that we're making any priority adjustments as we work towards fulfilling these goals. That will continue to help guide staff on our path forward. For instance, within the last quarter, we were continuing to pursue redevelopment or development over at the Wright Street location in Brainerd. We've had council and planning commission action since then that effectively stops that. So we have updated that on our goal sheet. We will redirect those energies, obviously, to looking for other suitable properties and things as such. Wanted to make another note as well. You know, between Board Chair Duval and Vice Chair Verkota and myself, we've been trying to discuss ways to elevate and put a spotlight on housing in the Brainerd Lakes area. You know, really specifically exploring opportunities to get media coverage for the initiatives that the HRA is working on. We are planning to engage with local print media as a starting point to provide ideas for content and to gauge the interest from the Brainerd Dispatch. Goal would be to better inform the community about the challenges the community faces, along with, you know, what types of housing are really needed in the greater community. The vision is for potentially a series of articles with input from our community partners, kind of dovetailing on that before we kind of open up that for any questions or comments. Hopefully, if people do read the Brainerd Dispatch, they saw that 805 Laurel, that project was in the paper today, just discussing kind of where things are at, or for lack of a better term, where they're not at, as that development is currently kind of stalled out, looking for additional funding opportunities. But it was a good write-up from the Dispatch. The Dispatch reached out to myself and James Kramvik with the city just to try to get some updates, because there are interested community members wondering what may be going on there. And so talked with the Dispatch. We got them connected with the developer and the owner of the property as well, so they could hear it straight from that developer. And was a pretty good article, I think, today in the Dispatch. So with that, I would open up, you know, kind of general discussion or back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Any comments, reflections, questions of staff on the strategic goal update?
May I?
Yes, Mr. Chesick.
Yeah, Eric, on that article, it did say they sought out funding in 24, the 805 Laurel developers.
Yep.
And it kind of leaves a person after reading it, I guess my impression was that there haven't been any available opportunities after 24 because when they didn't receive, but they have not submitted a request to the state either last year, or it doesn't appear they'll be doing it this year if they haven't started at this point. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. The programming that they were, I had identified for funding was the Workforce Housing Development Program. And so they have not applied for that in the last 2 years because funding was restricted down to the normal kind of biennium, $2 million a year, or $2 million a year for that program for kind of outstate Minnesota. The good news is in this most recent legislative session, they did up that for next year to 14 million. So put a few more dollars in the coffers there. There is another program that when I spoke with the development group last week in kind of lead up to putting them in touch with the dispatch, that they are exploring. They're exploring with some of their specialists, not in-house, but specialists that they're working with to see if that funding would be an option. I noted that the developer didn't name that in the dispatch, so I wouldn't name that at this point because it's very, very preliminary.
Yep.
But they're continuing to work on it, and that's why we try to keep at least a line of communication open for at least a quarterly update from them.
Would that be the funding source that was mentioned that may be available this fall and then somehow applied this winter with the wording? That's not what you're referring to, is it?
I don't believe so. So it's,
All right.
there are different, there's like low-income housing tax credits. There are, programs such as the Workforce Housing Development Program. There are other tax credit programs out there that they are exploring. And, but, that's very preliminary, and they've got to do their due diligence before they can have a better idea if it's going to work for them. But he did mention in that article having a potential for more commercial space, and that is directly tied to what they're looking at.
And then on that note, though, there was several rental housing or the apartments, or if you will, on the first floor, and the proposed that they last proposed, and they'll just
Yeah.
probably increase more commercial then.
That would be my understanding.
All right, thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Hey, could I ask one more thing on this list? Do you actually have a list of what your initiatives were? Because when I go through the document here that's associated, I see all the deletions where,
Yeah, and we can provide that to you, Jeff.
okay, but it
Just-
wasn't actually listed in the packet, was it?
No,
Okay.
we typically try to move the stale items off and then present the most updated ones, so I can certainly provide you with the most.
But what it sounds like, there's a few of them is all.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty. One question I have, so we're working on a sort of our 2025, 2026 pick list, if you would, of priorities. And is it time for us to maybe have a workshop and freshen the vision, and perhaps with our partners at the Crow Wing County HRA to sit down and look at updating gosh, I can't remember how many years ago we did this particular update, but we did that in collaboration with the Crow Wing County HRA in certain aspects of it. And wondering whether it's time for us to maybe shake this a little bit and see if there's some new directions or new priorities that we should be pursuing. Anyone have any reflections on that or thoughts on that? Or Eric, do you have wisdom for us on that? Is it time for that maybe?
Sure. I would always say that we're more than happy to put something together to do some brainstorming, another session. We previously did this. I think this is probably the second 2-year cycle that we've been working off this model. So that would put it back to probably end of 21 where we created it. And we did bring in an outside consultant at that point, Rod and Bruce Miles, for those of you that were on the board at that time. To do that, we could just as easily work through that. I know actually our chair for Crow Wing County does a lot of that strategic planning sessions. I could certainly reach out to her and see if she'd be willing to lead something like that. We can shake the tree a little bit if the board thinks that that's a good good use of some time right now. And I would, again, target that probably to be in the fall.
Yeah.
So we could start fresh if we were to do something new. Would give me a couple of months to kind of set that up.
Yeah.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yeah, I think that'd be a nice thing to do. I think it was probably right before I started on the board that the strategic goals were updated. I think, yeah, since we do have a management agreement with Crow County HRA, I think it'd be nice to kind of get their thoughts. And I know they've been doing a lot of stuff through the trust fund and you know, their activities on their board are sometimes a little more involved, I think, than ours sometimes. So with projects going and getting up and things of that nature. So I think it'd be good to get what their vision is for those funds getting out into the community, whether that's Brainerd or the county as a whole, and then kind of paring it down to what the city of Brainerd could use. And Jeff, your insight from the city council would be, you know, nice. It's a new city council person for us as a liaison, so yeah.
Yes.
On that note, the council did send a letter of support to the Crow Wing County HRA board, asking them to consider a potential purchase development agreement that they're working on to be competitive. And because as it sits, the developer would pay for the assessments, is my understanding. That would be your water and sewer. And then the lots are pretty much handed over without any charge. And there's a potential there to gain many thousands of dollars on a development of that size, which includes, I think now it's 42 lots. Initially it was 57. So that was the council asked them to consider that. We have no say in what they do. We just asked them to think about that, because any revenue that the county could get is just tax used as offset a levy that to the taxpayers. And that's, I think the motivation behind that was just to see that it get as much bang for the buck as we possibly can, even though we're not required to do that. Or they're not required to do that, but they could. So that was the initiative behind that. So just to let you know if you weren't aware of that. So,
Thank you.
yep, you bet.
Eric, would it be, how about if you were to maybe just kind of sketch out what a process might look like, and let's get a target on the next agenda to talk about then, our July meeting as to where we might head, and if that'll work, and you'll be able to have a conversation, I suppose, with Chair Hepner at the Crow Wing.
Yeah, I'll reach out to that chair and then we'll talk amongst staff and see what we can come up with as far as a potential calendar schedule for that.
Perfect, thank you. All righty, any other discussion on number 6A, review of strategic goals? Hearing none, let's move on to new business. File access and internal controls policy update.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I will take that item as well. That is on page 13 of your packet, also up on the screens. Purpose of the file access and internal control policy is to just ensure the confidentiality of each client by following all regulations regarding client access, staff access, consent to release of information, and storage of resident files. Attached are the necessary updates to the titles of employees specifically who are included in the policy. So that's really what prompted this update to this policy, is that we had some outdated employee staff titling on there. So particularly in item B in the policy, which is on page 15, we've just updated titles for our staff. That is the change that we are looking at approving here. And with that, I would ask for any questions, or Hannah certainly could answer questions as well from the public housing side.
Thank you, Eric. I think because this is grabbed out of context, there's some code cracking here. EIV in item D under the policy statement stands for, this is...
Enterprise and income verification.
So this is income, this is financial information that we want to basically make sure that that's not publicly accessible or broadly accessible. So that's included in some of the protected data, if it were, right?
Yep.
Very good. Any other questions on this? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion.
I do have a question. if
Yes,
it's okay.
Mr. Chesak, please.
This is basically part of the Data Practice Act, is my understanding? Or that the regulations are referring to in this memo here?
Yes, that would play a part into it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yes, that would play a part into it.
Okay, and then, let's see. Okay, I think that answers, so essentially, we have some, the way I understand it, Eric, is that we had some job titles misidentified.
Just different names, nomenclature. Over the years, those have changed from time to time, and we just have not updated the policy. As Ms. Gangle was looking through some of our policy updates, she noticed that and wanted to make sure that it was updated and corrected.
Okay, thank you. If nobody else has any, I'd move to approve the recommended change.
So the resolution 2026-04.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Grisula, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, this is a resolution. We'll do roll call. Eric, please.
Yes, Grisula,
Yes.
Imgrund, Decker, Chesak,
Yes.
Verkoda,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes, that passes, and we are now moving on to staff reports, bills, and communications. Our financial report will be Finance Director Young. Karen.
Thank you, Chair Duval and members of the board. My memo is up on the screen. It's page 19 of the packet and attachment 4. I wanted to give the board a few highlights. We are working on preparing our general fund budget for next year. So staff will present that.
Already time.
Yeah, staff will present that at our August meeting. We'll go through it with our treasurer before then. We usually try to run it through preliminarily with our treasurer before it comes before the full board. So that is in the works. For Crow Wing County HRA, we usually just give the Brainerd board an update that we will be presenting that budget to the board on July 21st for approval to the Crow Wing County HRA board. And then we have it scheduled with our Crow Wing County commissioners at their budget committee meeting on August 13th. So that one is in development as well. And then actually today on the Crosby HRA side, we have auditors from Clifton Larson Allen doing on-site field work for that audit. They're fiscal year end for 3/31. So that audit is a little later than our agency audit. So we are working through that today with those auditors. As far as highlights, again, on the next page of the report, we do have our ratios that we present to the board every month. Again, that is just for public housing, and that is how HUD scores us on our public housing financials. We present it to the board monthly, so you can see at a glance how we would be scored each month. HUD looks at it at the end of the year. We actually submit it into their system online. And then as long as we stay a high performer, HUD only actually scores us every 3 years for public housing. But we do just present this for the board to see at a glance how we're performing. And then our financial, or our payments are on page 36 of the packet. So those would be the payments that were made for May that we do ask approval for. If there's any questions I can answer.
Chair?
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Chesak.
Yes, you had mentioned that we'll be reviewing the general fund budget. And when was that again?
Correct. We'll present that at our August meeting.
Okay. and
By
that-
statute, we present it in August.
Is that a line item budget we look at?
It is I guess not full line item. It's, some of our accounts are summarized, and we provide detail as far as the different funds that make up our general fund as well.
Okay. And then you will go to the county HRA on the 21st of July for their budget?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions of staff? All righty, thank you, Karen. Our next item is 8B, our Housing Choice Voucher Report. This is
Chair Duvall?
Mallory Demo, Rental Assistance Manager.
I'd make the motion for payments. Is that what you were gonna say, Karen?
Perfect,
We'll do that as
second.
well.
perfect, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. See, it was just assumed.
Mr. Chair, I got a quick question.
Yes, Mr. Chesney.
On the item here, with the resolution we passed, and then this one as well, am I missing something, but does it say there's action being sought in these, that, I read through this, I mean,
Yes.
it does. I mean, I apologize, I missed it, so, fair enough.
Yeah, so at the memo itself, for example, Director Young's, there's an action requested. It's motion for approval of payments as presented.
Okay. I'll
And
double-
the previous was an action request to approve
Okay.
resolution
I read fast.
2026. No,
So,
No, that's fine.
apologize. Okay, thank you.
So we are to Mallory, your report,
Thank you, Chair Duval.
if you would, thank you.
I will start with the federal rental assistance programs. For our Housing Choice Voucher Program, as we were able to say at the last meeting, we were released from our shortfall at the very end of May. So as of that day, we were able to start issuing vouchers and leasing people up for June 1st. I did not put this in the board report because technically it's June information. But as of June 1st, we did have 3 new admissions that were already inspected and ready to go. So those we were able to start paying HAP on as of June 1st. And we did have a 4th that was a port in from a different agency. So I guess it wasn't considered a new admission, but still counts. So that would be 4. And then I think that's all I had for Housing Choice Voucher. Moving on to Family Self-Sufficiency. For that program, under additional information, you'll see that one of our households was terminated due to criminal activity. And so in that case, they do lose their escrow. And it is put into our forfeiture account. Karen, if you might be able to help me on that, what exactly do we use the forfeiture money for?
Sure, the forfeiture account then, HUD has changed the regulations recently for that. And so if we have an interim disbursement for an FSS participant, our policy allows us to do up to 50% interim disbursement if they've completed their goals at that time for an eligible use. If they have car repairs or something for school, something like that. With the forfeiture account now, we can use that for an interim disbursement, and then that participant, it doesn't reduce their escrow. So it's really hitting the jackpot for any interim disbursements that come up as we have escrow accounts. So, yeah.
Thank you for your much more eloquent answer than mine. Moving on to our state rental assistance programs. The Bring It Home program, as of May 31st, there had been 29 vouchers issued. Jasper actually told me as of today, he has 39, which is wonderful. For move-ins, for that first month, he was able to get 11 people leased up in their either units that they were already in or in new units. And he also told me today, as of July 1st, he'll have 20 households leased up, which is almost half of the allotment. So that's wonderful. For the Bridges program, there hasn't really been much movement. There typically isn't. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask. Moving on to the stats for the federal rental assistance programs. I kind of wanted to point out the vouchers that we have, or current vouchers being used are 292. And our goal is to get back up to that 324. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Mallory. Maybe a gut check on the, on where we're at with the federal vouchers here. You know, we're like running about 10% behind where, you know, where we ought to be come June 1st. So are we, staff comfortable that we'll be able to catch up, if you would, with the delays?
We're very hopeful. I will say, as of this moment, I have 8 files on my desk to go back to issue vouchers for. And then we still have several that people have turned in, all the paperwork and stuff like that. So Ryan and I are working through those and trying to get people issued and leased up as quickly as we can to try to catch up on those numbers.
Thank you. Other questions of staff? All righty, thank you, Mallory. We are moving on to item 8C. This is our housing manager, Hannah Zemel, or excuse me, Gangle, housing management report.
Thank you, Chair Duvall. My report is on page 43 in the packet, which is attachment 6, and it is up along on the screen. So for our vacancy report for May, as reflected in the attached report, our occupancy rate is 100% for our public housing properties. For Valley View Townhomes, our occupancy is sitting at 95%. And then with a couple Ross program updates, our food box program is sitting at 32 residents. That is elderly tenants only. There were no planned events for the month. However, going into my next section, we did give the job offer to Katie Sandberg. So she started yesterday. So she's back in that role, and we're very excited to see some movement on the Ross events and getting that community built up at North Star again and our public housing properties. Going into my stats, nothing for highlights this month. We added 14 applications to the waiting list, denied only 2. And then for interims and annuals, we completed 19 for the month. And then lease warnings, there were 5, and lease terminations, there were 33. However, 26 of those were non-payment of rent. And then our rent collection and accounts receivable and collections are below. So I'm open to any questions.
I do have a question.
Questions of staff, please. Yes, Mr. Chesak.
Thank you. We mentioned the waiting list. Is that something that the people who are on there can find out where they're placed by, would you just tell them like your number, whatever?
Yeah, we typically don't give numbers because it's kind of up in the air depending on who takes it. But I'll typically say, you're in the top 200 or top 100. So yes, they can always call or send an email and we'll let them know where they're at and what the timeline kind of is.
Okay. So if it gets down to say like they're 5, is there any, people can wait a long time, right?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
so at that point, is it something that you've ever reached out to people and say, just so you know, you're next on the list, so to kind of give them a heads up? Is that something we do?
Yes, yep. Typically when we have a couple of units, especially like this next month, we have 7 upcoming, so we'll notify at least 10 or 15.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions of staff? Hearing none, thank you, Hannah. We're moving on to item 8D. This is our rehab report. John Schomer, Rehab and Maintenance Director, please.
Thank you, Chair Duvall, members of the board. That report is attachment 7 on page 47 if you're following along, or up along the screen as well. On our Small Cities Southeast grant, we do currently have a couple of available, it's termed in units. When the city of Brainerd was awarded the grant, there were 8 owner-occupied single-family home rehabs available and 12 rental. We do have currently 3 projects that had bid out. The owners are reviewing the bids. We hope for those to be under contract, but we do still have at least 2 units of single-family rental rehab that would be available, and that's anywhere in the city of Brainerd. So if anyone's aware of any single-family rental homes, owners anywhere in the city, if they have any interest in improving their property, it's health and safety or energy efficiency related, we'd love to hear from them so we could fulfill all of those units. So Current rehab projects, you can see in the city of Brainerd, we do have 4 that are through the Small Cities Development Program. Our work orders for the previous month, we received a total of 78. We closed out 73. The total completed work orders for the year to date is 494. And then we had 4 emergency work orders that were requested. All 4 of those were completed in the required 24 hours for 100% compliance. Any questions for me?
Thank you, John. Questions for staff?
Could I?
Yes, Mr. Chesak.
That's the interesting numbers, John. You got 494, you said, since the beginning of the year?
Yes, for all of our public housing units.
Of all of them?
Yes.
Okay, and they can range a wide variety of anything from a drain plug, I suppose, to backed up,
Correct, yeah, we
Any-
can have the emergency work orders, for example, somebody's keyless in lock quit working, so we had to replace batteries. We had a scattered site, family site that had 4 smoke alarms that started chirping on a Saturday, so
okay.
staff had to go in and replace batteries. So, yeah, to your point, Commissioner Chesak, it's the whole gamut from what seems to be something simple to water coming through a wall or a ceiling.
That's a lot of fix-its.
Yeah, it
That's a
is.
lot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you, John. We're moving on to Executive Director Report. Eric Charpentier, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That memo is up on the screen, also page 49 of your packet. Just more of an information for the board. Had a meeting with the police department staff within the last couple of weeks. Myself and Hannah sat down with the new chief and the new deputy chief. For those of you who don't know, Chief Davis ended up resigning, and so the city of Brainerd has installed a new chief, Chief Tony Rundy. They've kind of backfilled from within the department, so it was a good opportunity for us to sit down and chat with the leadership team for Brainerd PD, just to do some information sharing, see how we can help and provide assistance to the police department. With a 162-unit apartment complex, we do have our number of emergency calls, whether they be, for health and safety or for, checks like that, or if it's, something that EMS is being dispatched out for, fire sometimes with fire alarms. So we do get a number of calls there, so we just want to make sure that we're good partners with PD for sure, and see how we can be better partners, as well as how they can support us as well. So again, I think between Hannah and myself, we came through happy with what the discussion was. We're going to try to get a police officer in the building to do kind of a coffee with a cop, so there can be questions from our tenants, from our staff. Hey, when should we call the police? When should we call 911 versus the police dispatch separately? And we think that that'll go hopefully over well, and try to make sure that that is happening on a fairly regular basis, just to keep that presence, keep that face fresh for our tenants, so they know, at least have a contact over there. With bringing on a new ROS coordinator as well, we'll be looking at other, hopefully kind of community-based education seminar type things with the county. We've already had a discussion with the county health services as well to try to get them in there. So just really wanted to give the board a quick update that these are good opportunities for information sharing and hopefully better partnerships, so that we can hopefully be on the same page. With that, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions of staff? All right, hearing none. On to item 9, commissioner comments. May I start with you, Commissioner Chesak?
Sure. I would, I guess, let me see how I get this. I didn't really think about. I wanted to mention that I attended the, I believe it was a June Crow Wing County HRA board meeting, and there's a couple of things that happened that I was a bit, I guess, kind of alarmed by. That the procedure they followed, parliamentary procedure, I would say literally was butchered at one point, and it was not pretty. A tabling motion was made and a second, and they had full discussion, which is highly inappropriate. I wanted to explain that the reason a tabling motion should not be discussed is because the point is to end all discussion. And if that passes, you come back at the date determined in the motion. And they didn't do that. And to me, it seemed completely irregular, and that's, for us, I hope this board knows better to not do that. Because there is a specific reason why tabling motions are so important to not discuss it. Because if it passes, that's when discussion takes place after it comes back. And I was very disappointed to see that. So is it inexperience? I don't know, but it should have never occurred. It did, so whatever, it may not have even passed. But the point is, all of the discussion leading up to the vote perhaps could have influenced the reason it didn't pass. It tied in a 2-2 vote. So that was, I have a point of contention to make about that. And I know this board, I would expect that we do better, and not to say that we don't know better, but that's just one thing I had to say about that meeting. So anyway, HRA staff, being there, I would hope that we know better here. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. And to that point, I would welcome a point of order if we are not following those. I think,
Certainly.
anyone feels that's the case. And so anyone with that parliamentary process experience, I think we ought to be open and ready to clarify or make a point of order here to make sure that we follow those rules. So thank you for that.
You bet.
Ms. Vercoda?
I don't have anything this month.
Thank you. Mr. Grisula?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Ms. Imgrund?
A couple things. I am excited that there's going to be some keys in hands coming up soon. And also, John and your team, nice work. Those are good numbers in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Decker? All righty. And I guess I would certainly express appreciation to staff for the good work you continue to do. And I would also like to acknowledge the team of commissioners that we have at this table, and particularly how we are engaged in our community. And I've bumped into various ones of us out here in the community, and I appreciate that broader involvement in the city of Brainerd and the roles that we have and the hats that we wear. So thank you for that involvement and engagement. So with that, our next meeting will be here in Chambers on July 22nd. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move. Happy Independence Day.
There you go. All right,
Second, Imgren.
all right, any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are done. Thank you very much, everybody, at 1:38.
What a speedy man.